Welcome to Keeping Up with Trends. This is Fed Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading, and we're joined with your host, Sergio Davids.
Hey, so 2024 has shaped up to be an incredible year so far in the markets, and we're only in Q1. Yet we've seen record highs being reported from some of the biggest banking institutions in the world. We've seen NVIDIA, reaching unparalleled highs and, even challenging Apple at a certain point to be the most valuable company in the world. And we've seen Bitcoin hit, record highs. So far, Q1 has been, just volatile and amazing to see. So I thought we'd unpack all things online trading and business related for Q1 2024. So let's kick off with the banks. What's been happening there?
Okay, so the banks they rise on the fact that there's higher interest rates and inflation. That's where they make the most money. And right now, JP Morgan off of its all-time record highs of $199 a share. Bank of America also gaining nicely. But those are the major bank institutions. Citibank also trading up
Goldman
nicely.
Sachs.
Goldman Sachs also trading up nicely. Goldman Sachs had a little stint in retail banking. It didn't work for them.
Yeah,
But with that said, I mean, this is where these financial institutions really make the most amount of money. And it's a cycle, like if we were able to live 1,000 years, we
right.
would, if we were attuned to what's going on in the world. And it takes someone who's a little bit of a history buff just to see what's going on in the world. And then you would really say, hey, I've seen this before. This and this will happen next, right? Oh, and this will happen next. Oh, and this will happen next. And surely that's how the world works. There's nothing new under the sun. It just cycles.
Mm. Okay, yeah, you always said that, money doesn't disappear, it just moves, elsewhere. But I
Relocate.
suppose in a high interest, high inflation environment, banks are going to cash in. So, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it since the start of 2023. But it's still amazing for me to see these giant companies, continue to grow. So, I guess I'm going to ask you the same question, and I know you hate this question. When are we going to see? I mean, okay, we've seen inflation slow, right? I mean, in the US, it was 9% last year, and it's back down to what, 4% now. So when you speak about a cycle, surely the next slowing or interest rate cut will reduce some of these banks' profits, or are we going to see them continue to rise?
So as things taper off and the economy starts, picking up, I believe we'll start seeing the banks tapering off as well.
It's interesting. And I mean, for now, we've got these companies that are just what, too big to fail. I mean, you mentioned it in our previous talks, but J.P. Morgan and the U.S. economy are just, well, intertwined is too small a word to use, right?
For sure.
I mean, it's too big to fail.
For sure too big to fail. I mean, it's a ultimately, JP Morgan is I mean, they're worth over $1 trillion in assets. I think 1 trillion.
Jeez.
It doesn't make a difference if it's 1 trillion or 2 trillion at that stage,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, hey, you remember last year when that Silicon Valley Bank went
Oh yeah,
bust, and everybody said,
yeah.
"Oh, it's the end
A
of the
couple of
biking."
banks.
Oh no, right?
I remember you were chiding me because I was talking about how, media were talking about, oh, it's the end of the banking's sector. We even had Credit Suisse, had to be bailed out.
Right.
So, it wasn't for nothing. And then you quite rightly called it, you know, nothing really became of it.
Nothing really became of it because ostensibly it was a $200 million bank. Which, okay, I mean, like if I had $200 million, then I would also be a little bit, upset. But this is $1 trillion bank we're talking about. Like we have assets all around the world, and yeah, and the head of it is just, you know, Jamie Dimon is just so talented. But it's not to say that it can't fail. I mean, the United States can fail, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if they wanted to break it up and destroy it, and I think that they're doing a good job doing it. I don't know, like in the next 10 years, is America gonna exist? Who knows?
In its current state, probably not. But we
If it
can,
continues going in the
yeah,
trajectory that it's going, I don't think so.
yeah,
You
it's gonna
know,
be very, very different country. Moving on, companies that have just, risen to extraordinary heights. The current darling of Wall Street, NVIDIA. So, I always mention this when we bring up, NVIDIA, but it is still crazy to me to think that a graphics card company, making a few million a year in graphics card sales back in 2017 even, right? Is now in a position where it's challenging Apple, the world's most valuable company, um, in terms of value. It's just insane. I mean, you're talking about a company that
I
if
mean,
you
it's
just
not
look at its
insane. It's not. It's
well,
not.
if you
It's
look
like
at its stock price, right? Just over the past year, right? I mean, year to date, it's up 87%. Its stock price is trading what just higher than $900.
so. I mean, with the expansion of AI and the
Yeah,
expansion of um, just the markets, with the gaming industry
yeah,
becoming so much more prevalent, so much bigger, it's that much of a bigger case to say that no, this company is justified at where it is, and if it continues in trajectory that it's going to continue, it will uh, continuously get to where it's supposed to get to, and that is just a level I think that kind of is reminiscent of Amazon and some of the other stocks that have risen so much over the past, I don't know,
yeah. Well,
20
tech
years,
stocks in general
25
have grown.
years.
Yeah, especially this year. Um, and it's I think a lot of people don't understand just how much gaming has grown because of what happened during COVID. I mean, you're talking about, billions of people having to stay indoors, right? And a medium which reached, people that they wouldn't have otherwise reached, and that was gaming. And then by the end of 2020, gaming had taken over Hollywood in terms of value. Game in 2022, it took over the music industry in terms of value. And it makes sense. People couldn't hold concerts anymore. People couldn't hold, events that had large amounts of people. And gaming was perfectly placed to capitalize on that. And then you've got NVIDIA, which you quite rightly pointed out, moved into AI when, nobody was really in that space. And they're reaping the benefits, of their hard work. So it's just amazing for me to see a company like this grow so much.
But I think
And
it's like
yeah,
what I've said before is that sometimes you have to be where money's going to come to. And I think
yeah,
that's what NVIDIA is. NVIDIA kind of just sat in the sidelines, let Intel, AMD, and all the other chip makers, enjoy, a certain segment of the industry, uh, but focusing on the future of what that industry would come out to be, and really reaping the benefits of it later.
yeah, yeah. It's just it's always heartwarming for me because I think back to end of 2023 where I got to meet one of our own clients, and he was smiling literally smiling all the way to the bank because one of our trading strategists suggested Nvidia as a stock to trade. And yeah, he was smiling, and understandably so. And this was at a time where, it was trading about $400, never mind $900. Can you imagine?
Yeah. So yeah, I can imagine, and and it won't be the last time. that it will continuously make these type of new highs. There will always be a player that
Yeah,
does. It's just the nature of the business.
yeah. Look, I think uh, we're. I mean, I know ChatGPT, made all the headlines back in 2023, but we are still in the infancy of AI. You know, we haven't really seen its full capability. I mean, just the other day I was reading the story about how in the States they might be planning to replace, nurses with AI. You could just literally talk to, an AI nurse, and then they'd be able to direct you there.
Could
It's a
you
scary,
imagine
scary world, man.
our job being replaced by AI?
Well, I've seen AI bots, trading bots in action. You know, that's scary to see. And in India, they've rolled out certain, I forgot what it's called, but there's a news company which rolled out an AI newscaster.
Oh wow,
So,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's a scary, scary world. And then in the gaming industry, one of NVIDIA's tech that it's working on is to have organic conversations with what they call NPCs, so non-playable characters. So let's say you're in a game, you meet, a character on the street. You could have an actual conversation with this person. Well, not person. It's a, it's a digital entity, but it would use a combination of ChatGPT to have an organic conversation with you. You
Wow.
know, and then, just to end things off, you have the possibility of, look, this has been coming on for a long time, but I think we're finally coming to the tipping point where we'd have online, relationships with an AI.
Well, that's going to
You
be a
know,
little bit scary,
it's
right?
scary and a little bit sad, but you can understand why. You know, this person, I'm putting in inverted quotes, speaks to every one of your needs, listens to you, connects with you on the level that you need. You're basically just using a autocorrect, on steroids, because it's literally just answering you back, in the way you want. But yeah, I there's a market for it.
For sure. I mean, it's something that's still developing, and
Yeah,
like you say, I mean, there's so many. I was thinking about it this the other day in my community.
yeah,
You see all these older, families and older. Well, partially some of them are single,
yeah,
and there's no one to help them really, and it's really very sad.
yeah,
Um, and there's no one to keep them company. And so, one of the things that AI would really be very helpful with is keeping these, uh, older, elderly single people,
yeah,
having some sort of company. I don't think it's a smart thing to necessarily um, do away with,
yeah,
because I think that it's necessary for everything that we do.
yeah. Look, we're social animals. We need that connection, and unfortunately, for a lot of people, they don't have family and friends. You know, so it could be that this could fill the gap. I would be extremely hesitant for this to take over the human connection. But yeah, I see a need. I see a market, you know? I think one of the things that we should be very careful about, you mentioned in our industry, right? I would be hesitant for, you know, the kind of abuse, of the system that an AI bot could engage in, you know? I mean, not to say there isn't, fraud out there and there are scammers, but can you imagine on the scale of an AI doing
Wow, that's smart AI.
that?
When's it gonna go to
Well,
the
what
Bahamas? Like, what is it gonna do? Like,
what does it need the money for?
yeah.
to buy that AI girlfriend and that AI um holiday retreat in the Panama. We we don't know what its needs are. Um, I think I'm gonna end things there, and we'll do another one on Q1 where we'll talk about what's happening with gold, major election here, and all things business related.